Hey everybody, Hank Winchester, Help Me Hank. I'm joined by the Help Me Hank producer, Kelly Kasuda.
Hello.
We're here in the Local 4 newsroom. We appreciate you taking a moment to tune in here, and we are talking about one of the biggest stories of the last few weeks, one that we continue to follow every day, what we have dubbed the Green Ooze investigation. It started with that ooze making its way out of a business owned by Gary Sayers in Madison Heights and making its way, as you can see here in the video, onto the roadway, onto 696. Testing revealed that it is toxic, it is dangerous. Now the question is, how big of a problem is this? Kelly and I, along with our photographer Alex Atwell, were out at the Detroit property owned by Gary Sayers, Commonwealth. That's on the west side over by Henry Ford Hospital. And it was interesting there because we noticed that not only were they focused on the building that he owns, but you also noticed that crews were making their way into other nearby buildings, right?
It was really bizarre because we've got the Madison Heights property, we've got the Detroit property, we've got a property in Electro-Plating County that he was, they say he was dumping at. And now you've got people in Detroit working in this one building that we know that you broke on Friday, that he owned and he was dumping in. But then they're moving over across the street, and we're watching them going into all the buildings across the street. And there was, from our naked eye, we could see that there was, what
barrels and containers.
Barrels, containers, and, very eerily similar to what we were seeing in Madison Heights.
There's that ooze. That's the shot from inside Madison Heights. That's video right there from Detroit on Commonwealth Street, 5900 Commonwealth. That's the investigators going to those abandoned buildings across the street. Those are the containers with the test samples, and those will now be sent to the EPA for review. On visual inspection, there's Gary Sayers. Let me just talk about the video. On visual inspection, it appears that the green ooze found in Madison Heights is very similar to what they have found now in Detroit in 8x10 concrete pits. So now the question is the same substance? And if so, what is the health concern if there is one? So far, at least it seems that there has not been one to the community either in Madison Heights or in Detroit, but it's really too early to tell because we don't know whether the soil has been affected,
how far
out, how the air quality could be affected. What we do know for sure is that building in Madison Heights and the building in Detroit were complete dumps. And in the court testimony that we've heard for the last 24 to 48 hours, it sounds like they've known for quite a while that this was a big problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's been right now, I was going to ask you what's been most shocking to you. Most shocking to me has been that, we've known about, especially the Madison Heights building, Eagle went in and they knew about this back in 96 and they were issuing tickets in 2016 and they supposedly went in and the EPA cleaned up the imminent threat in 2017. But now here we are in 2019 and we've got ooze on the freeway.
Right.
And for me, that's been my most shocking, part of all of this is how did this get to be where it is today? And how has it gone this long without really being addressed?
Right, and I think that's the problem that we brought up to Eagle, the state agency, is just why was action not taken earlier? If you knew that this was such a big problem, they said that the site didn't qualify for super funding through the state to go in there and clean it properly. Cleaning was done, but clearly not at the level that it needed to be because you end up with ooze on the highway in December, and that is just not a good situation. So today, a lot of moving pieces in this ongoing puzzle, if you will. The investigators back out at both scenes today. Testing is continuing. We're going to be making our way to Lansing today. The governor and the attorney general are both meeting today to talk about PFAS, which is kind of connected to this because there were elevated levels in Madison Heights. So we also want to talk to them about what's been ongoing with all of this.
I think that's been the most challenging part is understanding every single chemical and all the measurements, and it makes my head hurt.
Yeah.
So I can understand as viewers, you're watching, all the coverage, and you're thinking, I have no clue what any of this means, and we're trying to sort through what we can for you. And
so let me dumb it down for you. If you watch the movie Aaron Brockovich, the chemical that was in that movie is the same chemical that is the focus of the Madison Heights investigation. The difference here is that in the movie, the firm and the company in that particular instance was taking that chemical and dumping it directly into the water supply, which is how people were ingesting it, and which is why it became such a health concern in California. Here, they do not believe that it's made its way into the water supply, but obviously they are testing the water to make sure that that is okay. But what they're trying to figure out is what Gary Sayers has been up to, what he was up to before he went to prison, and they do believe that he was transporting barrels and chemicals from Madison Heights to Detroit, but where else were these chemicals going? Yeah. So I know it's a complicated story, I know it's confusing, a lot of people are starting to ask me questions about it, so if you have questions, we want to hear from you. You can always email us directly, helpmehank@clickondetroit.com, hankw@wdav.com. There's a million ways you can reach me on social media. And
he's always on his phone.
I'm always on my phone. I'm just trying to answer a text message. So yes, there's a million ways you can submit your questions and concerns to us, and it is a story that we will continue to follow, not only on air, but also here online. So we thank you for taking a few moments to talk to us about green ooze, and just know that it's a story that we continue to track and follow, and that's exactly why we're going to be making our way to Lansing today. So stay tuned for live coverage today, beginning at 4 o'clock. Have a good day.